Hello and welcome to a very special edition of Art 1-to-1. Joining us today in our studios is none other than Professor Sunanda Mahendra, Professor Emeritus of the Department of Mass Communication of the University of Calny, and he's also a board member of the Sri Lanka Press Council. Professor, welcome to Art Television.
Thank you.
It's a privilege to have you here. So, the Presidential Media Awards. First time it's something like that has been organized in Sri Lanka for the first time. Tell us how this concept came about and the process behind the award ceremony. We'll start there and then we'll move on to the details.
I think, first of all, at the outset I must say that the Ministry of Mass Media should be congratulated on this matter. It was they who decided that we should have a presidential award ceremony for mass media. I'm not too sure who came out with the idea or the moment which transpired them to get this idea, but I'm pretty certain about the wonderful, fantastic objectives behind it. One of the things that I remember very well is the identification of the communication skills that lay behind most of the mass media channels in Sri Lanka. For instance, the print medium. Print medium is one of the most popular mass media channels in Sri Lanka, but with the advent of the rest of the media, like the electronic media,
like TV, radio,
to have everything
digital
of
that came out later.
Yes. Perhaps the trend was lessened or in fact decreased from the gravity it enjoyed at the beginning. Nevertheless, we find that with the advent of electronic media like TV and film and in fact even the web, which is a thing that I am not quite happy to talk to you because I am a professor better known for the rest of the media and not the specialized areas. Then of course we, having identified the skills, we ought to thank them for surviving and sustaining the effort of carrying them down the centuries. Then comes providing guidance. We can always plan up media channels only by identifying the skills. This particular person is good in reporting. This particular communicator is good in interviewing. Another person may be really good and writing features. Of course, when it comes to sound and visual, you always have the musical component. Now that's a thankless area in Sri Lanka. The genuine ones were not paid any attention to. So the Minister of Mass Media took the opportunity of detecting the talents that lay behind them. Then of course, thirdly, having judged all these things, having discovered, we also have the ability to plan up media themselves. Because we need better media to create public opinion. If public opinion has to be guaranteed and honored, it's the mass media that matters. A lay reader will have the chance of saying, I got this idea by reading a newspaper. I got this idea by listening to that. It was what a wonderful dialogue that ensued. So we got to build up the public opinion. As such, a kind of award ceremony of this kind may be of help to the masses, I believe, and the specialists concerned. Then, of course, as a teacher of mass media, I firmly believe that a lot of research could be done. Having understood some of the most salient problems that are arising in the media channels, we could make a lot of media research. In India, for instance, I'm a regular visitor to most of the universities in India. I sometimes teach and I sometimes attend their seminars. We feel that planning, research, learning and teaching go hand in hand. So these matters plus another segment, encouraging the newcomers to face challenges. How are you going to plan up your program? How are you going to write an article? How are you going to investigate in a better manner? So these factors, like the final one that I pointed out, encouraging the newcomers with communication skills, the university graduates that come out, teachers of mass media. Now this is being taught at O level and A level. So a ceremony of this type may be of use to the educationists from 2 points of view: assessing and evaluating. You assess certain programs, you evaluate certain programs. So perhaps I may not touch on the economic side of the matter because I'm rather ignorant on those. But having laid down this foundation, I sincerely believe that a presidential award ceremony is a worthy cause.
Yes, and now I believe there are 51 awards to be given out,
Yes.
and we have 4 categories: TV, radio, print and web. And as you said, you are well versed in 3 of those.
Yes.
And Professor, tell us a little bit about the judging process, how the nominations were called in, and how long the judge, each panel. Now I believe you were part of the panel of judges that handled the radio category.
Yes. Generally speaking, that's a wonderful little question. I think this is a question that is raised all over the world, because judging something is the most difficult part of the evaluation. Given 10 entries, if you and I are asked to judge, we should have a methodology. The methodology that we adopted is a well-versed, well-known Oscar method. Now, in Oscar method, we have 4 segments. Competent people are selected to make judgments on the entries. If a particular entry doesn't reach the required standard, we give a figure, because facts are denoted by figures. We say first, second, third, fourth. In a class, you may have 3 people. Out of the 3, we have 1, we have 2, 3. All the 3 people will get places. But in a class where 15 people are there, it's very difficult. What about the rest of the people? Are they out? Perhaps you could use the term, the 0 may be a figure that denotes in the process. It may be harsh talk perhaps. Out of the entries, we give a 0 when it is not selected. We give 1, figure number 1, to in those who could be selected as possible runners. Then of course 2 more figures are left. 2, 3, 4. 2 of course better than 1. 3 good. If a person marks number 4, make sure that it's an excellent. And you should account for that excellency. You say excellent. I will ask, the one that I left off has become your excellent piece. Then there's a conflict arising. So such judgments may not be too sound. So we made it possible at the outset, at the very beginning, before we triggered off, we said, make sure that it's either 3 or 4. If it is 1 or 2, 0 is not taken, 1 or 2, but if you have 3 and 4, make sure that 3 and 4 is selected. But in a group where you have 8 judges, if somebody, one person says, my number is, for this entry, is 0. And 7 people say, no, ours is 3 and 4. Then we have to say, the leader of the group should say, I'm sorry, we got to abide by the rules of judging. We disagree with you. Those who have marked 3 and 4 can stand as the judges in this particular one. But we take an oath of allegiance not to whisper, don't divulge, no secrets should be revealed. So until the ceremony is over, even these are packed and sealed and kept aside.
Excellent.
So I am not too sure whether I am the most competent person to say all these things, but given the chance that now that you have asked me, this was the method that we adopted.
Okay. So now, since we spoke about the method, and since this is the first time that in the history of Sri Lankan media that we have a state media, presidential media awards for media personnel, and you spoke about sustainability earlier. Let's talk about the sustainability of this award ceremony, and what do you see as its future? Since this is the first inception, and since this was supposed to take place in 2018, even though certain factors pushed it to 2019, and according to the press conference that happened a few days ago, there will be another presidential media award ceremony happening at the end of this year.
Yes.
And the Ministry of Mass Media was adamant that there should be sustainability and this should go on. What is your opinion on that?
That's a very interesting question from several points of view. In my mind, of course, there are 5 main factors that should be suitable to respond to your question. A is that now that we have planned out this for the 10th of April, let's see how it goes. Let's calm down and observe the response of the public. May there be conflicts, may there be controversies, may there be disagreements. Right. Thank you. All those will go into the making of a better presidential award the following year. How? Take point by point. Like this well-known referendum all over the world, let's see whether this is essential or not. Have a kind of a controversy. Let the issue be open. Do you need a presidential award of this sort? Will it encourage those practitioners, the professionals of your caliber as a stimulant? Let's take that standpoint. Evaluate it. Are you really happy about the outcome? The judges openly declare that they have done their worth. They have been fully equipped with their effort. So let's take the standpoint of the final point in conclusion. Is the outcome keeping in line with a development in the mass media segment? For instance, there's a lot of controversies regarding linguistic problems, use of language. I constantly hear that most FM channels willfully bring about disaster in the use of language. I'm not too sure whether it is true or not, but I sometimes observe that this fact has a point of acceptance. So let's put the challenge on. Will not this ceremony that we held instrumental in creating a better media culture?
I see, yeah.
We all talk about media culture. UNESCO talks so much about media culture. I am one of the UNESCO recipients of the Socials the Development Program Award. I had this Copernicus Award to my credit. So I observed that UNESCO insists on creating a better media culture. What do we really mean by this? There are three factors that go into the thing. Understand the skills, see how the skills are put into practice, and the planning process. If we want to have a better radio system, we need to reward, accept the talents of the broadcasters. If we want to have a better television service, the only way is to accept their talents. Let's encourage them. If you want to have a better print medium, newspaper, whether in English, Sinhala or Tamil, in material, the language, are you writing the correct report? Are you writing the correct editorial? Are you printing the correct cartoon? How good is this feature? How did you conduct the interview? Did you learn it from somebody, from your seniors? Yes, good. If that is so, well, this kind of ceremony is quite worth. So I think there may be here and there various little pitfalls. It doesn't matter, I believe. Let's go ahead. See what's happening. People need it. People don't want to scrap schools, do they? No. People don't want to scrap universities, do they? No. Well, do people close down all the television services? No. Now we have come to the age of demassification. Everything is in our pockets. We have a little smartphone. At your beck and call, you have the encyclopedia. You don't want to go to the library and see encyclopedia, should you? No. So like that, everything is changing. Let's see how the changing process takes place.
Okay, excellent. And Professor, in conclusion, now there are 4 lifetime awards that are going to be awarded for stalwarts in each of the categories.
Yes.
Just let's briefly talk about that before we wrap up, because I know there are some really strong personalities who are nominated and who are getting these lifetime awards for print, radio and TV, and also for web.
Yes. I'm not too sure of the web Life Award. But I am pretty certain about the rest of the media. For instance, print medium. We have taken oath of allegiance. We can't divulge the names. As such, I'll confine myself to the judgment part. We took into consideration the number of years a particular person had served in that particular medium. For instance, print media, newspaper. In the capacity of a feature writer, feature editor, supervisor, teacher. If you take into consideration, you will find there are one or two outstanding personalities
In each field.
I wish I should come out with this fact. When 3 or 4 names came into our consideration, we had to decide by certain factors. What have they done? Were they just hibernating in the office? Or were they performing a particular duty by themselves? And what is that particular duty that they performed? Good. Write it down. Just think it on paper or wrote down. Certain people have got excellent marks. So we can't leave them off. In the capacity of the beginner, in the capacity of a contributor, in the capacity of a creator, in the capacity of an interlocutor, in the capacity of a teacher, in the capacity of a all-knowing communicator. So we had to take all this into then judge independently. So and so has reached this point. Do you all agree? Consensus of opinion paved the way for the selection of an outstanding
Personality.
So that's how
That's how you came to that conclusion. Excellent. So we have come to the end of our time, Professor. Thank you very much for joining us. It was an absolute pleasure and a privilege to talk to you. And with that, we've come to the end of this very special edition of Art 1 to 1. Until we see you again, take care and good night.